Welcome to the In-Tune Guitar Academy. This is lesson 3 of how to play a 3-chord song in 30 lessons. Today we're going to be talking about tuning the guitar. But before we get into tuning, let's talk a bit about the anatomy of the guitar. So this is the body, the main body of the guitar. This piece right here is called the bridge. And you'll have holes drilled into the bridge. On one end of the string is round, it's like an eyelet. You stick that piece down into the hole, and then these little pins or pegs hold it in place. So that's how the strings stay in place. You put the pegs on top, and then you stretch the string right across and attach it to the posts, and then you turn the tuning knob tight to put to put tension and hold the string in place. So the strings pass over this plastic piece called the saddle. So the bridge and the saddle goes across the sound hole and up across the neck, and on the top of the neck is what's called a fretboard, like we talked about in the previous lesson. Fretboard goes up to here, and this piece is the nut. This is called the head or the headstock, so it's easy to remember. Head, neck, just like a body. You got your head and your neck underneath. Down here we have what's called the pick guard. So as you're strumming your guitar, you have a tendency to hit the top of the body of the guitar. The top of the body is usually a softer wood. You need a soft wood because you want it to be resonant. So if you can hear that it's actually resonates very well. So your bassier sounds are down here at the bottom of the guitar where it's wider. The more mid-range where the sound hole is in the middle of the guitar, and at the top end your more trebly sounds come out. It's kind of designed like a speaker. At this end of the guitar is called the strap button. So your strap would attach here. I'm not wearing my strap because it's just too cumbersome to be talking about my guitar and having a strap on. So, and this guitar has a built-in tuner, which is very handy, and also has a connection where I could stick in the patch cord. So the patch cord goes to an amplifier or it goes to a PA system, so I can play live and have the patch cord straight into the mixing board. So the strings are attached here to what's called the posts. Some people call them capstans. Capstan is more of a technical term because it's a type of gear. So the posts stick out like that, then perpendicular to the post is the gear. So as you turn the gear, it makes the pin turn around. So you turn it one way or the other, the pin goes counterclockwise, clockwise. Now in most cases a guitar would have a rectangular shaped headstock. Mine is shaped like this because it looks just like a Fender Stratocaster, and I've always been a big fan of Fender Stratocaster, so when I bought this guitar I wanted it because it looked like that. In any case, getting back to the material of construction, many guitars are made of sticka spruce. That's one common type of material or type of wood that's used for the body of the guitar. Sticka spruce is native to Alaska, and it's sort of endangered, so it's become an issue of trying to preserve that type of wood. Other woods are koa, which is native to Hawaii. There's many different types, but usually this is the softer part, so that's why you got the pick guard to protect the softer part. And inside you have what's called bracing, and that just gives rigidity to the guitar. I'm going to try to have an interview later on with an actual guitar maker. Luthier is what we call them, people that make a guitar, and he'll explain it much better than I can how the guitar is all put together. So this piece, you got the neck. In this case, it's it's glued on to the body. My electric, the Fender Stratocaster, is bolted on. So it's just different types of ways that the manufacturers make the guitars. So as I mentioned before, we got these frets. We're just going to worry about up to the 12th fret. This is a cutaway type of guitar, and the cutaway allows you to get to these higher notes. But in most cases, a beginner don't really worry about that part. So today I'm going to talk on. So the tuner also has adjustments for volume and treble, mid, bass, and you can sort of tune, not tune, but adjust your sound going to the board. So I used to give lessons for the city that I live in, and I was giving lessons to mostly younger kids, and the number one problem that they had was tuning the guitar. And I had a class of many kids, probably too many, 5 or 6, maybe even up to 8 at one time, and I'd spend almost half the class, if not more, tuning their guitars, and we wasted a lot of time. And I gave private lessons before that, and I also gave lessons when I was many years ago, and then the number one issue that always came up is how to tune your guitar. So to me, learning to tune the guitar is one of the most important things you can do to start off in your guitar learning journey. So last lesson I talked about a tuning fork. So that's a tuning fork right there. You find a hard surface to knock the tuning fork on, so usually your knee or a table. So I tap my knee. You hear that? Right now we're in tune. So if I turn this, it's kind of a warbly sound. So now I tune it, I've turned it so that it's in tune. And you can almost hear that it's exactly the same. There's no warble anymore. It's a smooth, even sound. So the tuning fork is resonating through here, and this is resonating through the body, and they both sound the same. Then I know that it's in tune. The next step is to tune the rest of the strings. So then you go to your 5th fret here, and then before we go any further, I got to mention that your first string is the one that's furthest away. The 6th string is here, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So in this case, I go 5th string, which is the second one away from the top. I press down here on the 5th fret. That makes a D note. That makes a D note here, and they have to match up. So now I know that the 2 strings are in tune. So that's the D is in tune, and then I do the same thing. I go down one string, 5th fret again on the 4th string, and that makes a G note, which is the same as here. Those are both G notes. So the G has to be equal to the G string. The G string has to match that note. And then I go, once that's in tune, then I go down to the 3rd string on the G string and then press on the 4th fret, which makes a B note. B note is the same, those are 2 B notes. The B has got to sound, so the B string, which is this one, has got to sound the same. So it's E, B, G, D, A, E. So it starts with an E, ends with an E. In between is a B, G, D, A, and E. So down here I've done a B note. That's a B note, and the B string's going to match that B note. Then I know that they're in tune. And then I do the same thing on the B string. I go back to the 5th fret, and then you can hear that they're pretty much in tune. And then the last step is to go down to here, which makes an A note. Using the 6th string on the 5th fret, the A note. That's a little bit out of tune. I can hear it right away. Whoops. There you go. Now they're in tune because they match. There's not that warble. The other way of doing it, so the problem is when you press down, you can sometimes push up and press or push down, which makes that note a little bit out of tune to begin with. So your reference note is out of tune, so then your string will be out of tune. So the other way of doing it that will less bias is you take the pad of your finger and do what's called a harmonic. And then, but that's kind of a complicated way of doing things, and it's not always as precise as going with the clip-on tuner. So what I talked about before is with the clip-on tuner, then you clip it on the end and you go string by string, turn it on. I'll turn it this way so the camera can see, and now I know that it's in tune because see that how it lights up green in the middle, or bluish green. Then if I turn it that way, then you see it's all in the red. It's not in tune anymore. So then I turn it, then we can see that it's in tune. So that then it's that greenish blue in the middle, then I know it's in tune. If I turn it too far, and it goes kind of yellowish, then it's sharp. I've turned the string sharp. When it's low, it's flat. When it's high, it's sharp. Excuse me. So then we want it to be right in the middle. And it's picking up my voice every time I talk, so that's why it keeps changing. So, and then you go string by string, do the same thing, and you check the B string, so then the second string, that's the next one up. So first, second string down here, this is, first string is that one, and the second string is right there. So then I hit that's my B string, and I want the thing to show up, the LED to light up green in the middle, and then I keep doing until I do the G. I check the G, same thing, and then the D, the A, and the E. So you just go one string by one. Some people start from the top, some people start from the bottom. I prefer to start from the bottom of the first string and work my way up. Now, when you've tuned them all, the best thing to do is to go back over again, because this string has a lot of tension, a lot more tension than that one. So sometimes when you tune this one, it could pull the others out of tune. So it's always a good idea to go back over and check a second time. Another thing that you can do once you learn how to play chords is after you've tuned it, you got to make sure that it sounds good. So that's an E chord that I've just played, and all the strings sound good, because there's always going to be some kind of warpage. You want to make sure that when you're tuning them open, and when you're actually playing the chord, it sounds the same. And that's the problem when I mention if there's a warpage in your neck. When I mentioned this in the first video, if the neck is slightly warped, you might be in tune here, then you're out of tune here, and then you're back in tune. It becomes very difficult to play properly when you can't keep your guitar in tune. So that's the basics of tuning. So that's one thing that you got to keep on practicing, is to be able to tune each string by string. Now, our first chord that I want to teach you, the chords are A, B, C, D, E, F. F is one of the hardest of forms, so that's going to be later on. Then G. So A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. I want to start off with the D. The reason I always start off with my novice players is with the D is because it's the easiest, to me it's the easiest to play, because it's way down here. So, but before we get to that point, we're going to have to learn the notes that form the D. So that's going to be the topic of our next lesson, is we're going to learn a few notes. So the nice thing about a D is that it's very versatile. You can do all kinds of things. You can do an arpeggiated D and it sounds really nice. So that's a D in the open position, and you can also do a bar chord. Later on, when we get a little bit more advanced, we're going to try to do bar chord. So this is the bar chord, and this is also a bar chord. So you can play D here, you can play D here, and you can play D there. Very flexible. One thing I got to mention is this guitar is shaped this way. So all the strings, all the tuning knobs are on the same level. As I mentioned before, most acoustic guitars will have a rectangular shape, so you have 3 knobs on top and 3 knobs underneath. The E's always match one another, so the first string knob will be here, the second string, which is the B, will be there, and then the G is there, and then on top you'll have D, A, and E. So 3 on top. All these 3 here are just flipped around to there. So you start the E's line up, and then B down here, and A on top, and G and D. Just keep that in mind when you're learning to tune your guitar. It's the same concept, it just looks a little different. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section. Don't forget to visit my website, www.intune Guitar Academy, and for some more in-depth information and discussion. And we'll see you next time for lesson 4. And we're going to start learning some notes for lesson 4. This has been the In Tune Guitar Academy, lesson number 3, how to tune your guitar.